Hey, today we're looking at a couple of subwoofers. We're looking at 12-inch subwoofers, the 12S. They're both powered subwoofers. This one is coming to you from Rockville Audio. This one's coming to you from Electro-Voice. Basically, the big question I want to answer for you today is that these are at two completely different price points. Basically, this is about a quarter the cost of the Electro-Voice. And for some people, they're like, oh man, there's no way that this could be. Well, and when we're done with this video today, you're going to know why there's a price difference between the two, and you can be the judge when it comes to sound quality and capability, if it's worth investing a little bit more than getting into the little bit less one. So first off, 12-inch cabinets, both of them. The Electro-Voice, they both have the metal grills on the front of them. You've got a carpeted unit. You've got a composite. Basically, this is the bed liner stuff from your truck. That's going to be very, very durable. This one has been with us and out in the field for a lot of shows, and I finally got the covers for it, so I'm so excited. But it has been out, and it's probably done a dozen shows. And there's some scuffs on it, a little bit of love on it from that, different things, but it's going to hold up really well. Carpeted, if you've ever had carpeted speakers, these things can get cut, and it can be a problem. You can do some things to help that, but it's still, carpeted speakers are very kind of soft at times, depending upon what you're doing. Because I've had carpeted speakers forever, and yeah. The cups at the top. When it comes to speaker mounts, there's the pole here for your typical speaker mount here, your 1 3/8 that goes up to your top speaker, and then you got the M20 threaded connection on the Electro-Voice. So both of them, you can buy a combo that does both of them, and I don't think there's threads at the bottom of this. No, it's a solid cup at the very bottom of it. But you can replace these if you need to, depending upon your configuration. But most of the speakers nowadays are going to the M20 threaded speaker pole to go to your next speakers, if that's the type of configuration you do. Let's jump to the back here and check out, because this is where we really start to see a lot of differences is when we jump to the back. So let's start with the Electro-Voice and the ELX200. You basically you've got two inputs on this particular one, not a lot of flexibility, and you've got the outputs that basically are going to be kind of a pass-through output. So this, of course, has full DSP. There's a lot of functionality that you can select in here, different menus. We can go and select our top speakers, and just a lot of different capability to really hone what you want to do with it. We're going to look at that low pass. What that basically means is it's going to be allowing going to this sub, and what it's going to be rolling off. Now, we use this with the ELX200 10 tops, but I can go and change this to a lot of different tops. There's a 12. It can be used with a 12 top, a 15 top. It can be used with a ZXA1. There's just a lot of different, getting into the EKX line of speakers. It has those settings for that. And there's our ELX. And then eventually we should be able to find a spot where we can get to, there we go, where we can actually go by the hertz. So if we have a speaker that isn't an EV one, we can actually use this in different configurations. And this is the crossover point where everything above this will be rolled off. So it could be set at 80. It could be set at 100. It could be rolling off everything above 120. That's all in this little menu here that makes it really easy to configure for our needs. So one final thing I want to show you, and this is another thing that will be different, is that you see that there are little breathing vents on the very bottom and the top. This is allowing cool air to come in on the bottom and the warm air to come out on the top, and keeping our amplifier plate cool and functioning all night long. Now let's jump over and check out the Rockville. Now the Rockville's got a little bit less for functionality and different things. We have one input, and we have that's a pass-through to send to the next speaker. We also have the input capability of running a unbalanced signal, which in this case is an RCA. So we could run that in, and we could actually jump from the input here from our laptop or whatever, and then jump from this to our top speaker, which is actually kind of a neat function for us here. We've got a low-pass filter that ranges from 40 hertz up. We can dial it in up to 150 hertz. So we just have to have more of an idea of what we have got going on, but we can definitely set the low-pass filter on here to roll off those frequencies up above. Right now, we've kind of set it so when we do our audio test here with the EV, they're set about the same spot. Finally, there is the volume here, where we can turn up the volume, the gain, whatever you want to call it, but that is our last little button here. We've got our power indicator, and right there is probably one of the most important indicators when it comes to speakers is the clip light. If that's coming on, that means it isn't the old if you aren't redlining, you're redlining, you're not headlining. If you're seeing red, it's bad. Bad. There's a polarity thing also. Some people need that for their configuration. We're not going to get into that, but that basically just changes it from positive going on one side, and instead of the speaker going out, it's going out on the opposite way of the other speakers. And it's not used very much. Most of the time, you just leave it as normal, and which is in, and you let it stay. Finally, you'll notice this is a complete sealed chamber right here. There aren't any air vents on this to cool this particular power head unit here. The amp in here is cooled basically by the movement of the sub from the front. And for many applications that can function, but if you're out there driving this hard show after show on a regular basis, this needs to be breathing a little bit more, in my opinion, than it is right now. So this is where this becomes a sub to be utilized on a smaller, you're not pushing it as hard. You're utilizing it for maybe live applications, or you're only going out and doing small backyard parties in places in which it's not going to get super, super hot and you're not asking a ton from this sub. But it's time for the audio test, because that's what we're here for. So let's check these out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do an audio test, and we're going to put the same level of signal from the board. I'm going to set the volume and we're going to leave it. We've got the Rockville set at basically 12 o'clock, and we've got the EV set at 0. So they both can be turned up with their respective gains, but for this application and this particular part of the test, they're going to be at 0 or 12 o'clock, or in the middle of their full area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it up a little bit more. We're going to do one at a time and give you an idea of how loud it is at that specific volume level on this. This is not pushing them all the way. That's going to be coming here in just a little bit. So let's get on this. So as you can see from that, at the same signal strength, where this was at 12 o'clock, this one was at 0, where we have more gain on both sides, as much gain going up as we have going down. Way, way different in that configuration. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go and put audio to it. We're going to turn the gain on this one all the way up in trying to compensate a little bit and take it to the point of kind of maxing out this particular sub. And the EV, I don't think we're going to have to do that with, but we're going to try to basically get them to the point where they're just before they clip, and then give you a reading of what they're going to be able to do. So let's jump into that test. So there is the test between the two. Now I took them both to the point of where they were starting to limit, and then I pulled them back just a little bit. And again, we were looking at the limit light on the EV and the clip light on the Rockville. The difference between the two is the limit light. What's happening here is that the brains in this are seeing that the signals coming in is getting really, really, really loud, and it's starting to roll off some of that signal. So it's protecting itself, and so it won't damage the speaker. The difference between that and a true clip light, what the Rockville is using, is basically it's saying, okay, you're about ready to blow me up, and if that light stays on solid, I'm going to be dead. There's really nothing that's happening to protect itself beyond the light coming on as a warning, where this is going to give us the ability to see that that's starting to flicker on. And we can still run that way because it is doing some things to protect itself. Now, if we continue to the point where the limit is on full time and we leave it there a long time, even the speaker can't protect us from our own stupidity. But that stupidity has very, very little window when you're dealing with a clip light on a unit such as the Rockville. It's great to have it. You need it, especially when you're pushing. But yeah, that's just a little word on that. So that's where we were. And it was the huge difference. I mean, you saw that there was almost a 4 to 5 decibel difference between the two subs at their max capacity for output, which basically kind of boils down to that you're twice as loud with the EV over the Rockville sub. For some people that need to have that, that is huge. Now think about it from this perspective, is that if I would get a second version of both of these and I stack 2 of the Rockville on 2 of the EV, when I add that second sub on there, that's doubling my sound again by putting them together and then putting them together. So that means that the 2 would probably not equal 2 here would not equal the 1 or be getting close to equaling, but then I would need 4 of these to get close to 2 of the EV. It really gets to be one of those situations that you can start to see there's a difference in the capability between the subs. For the right application, I think that the Rockville could definitely have use. If I'm only going out and I'm doing backyard parties and I'm only doing it a couple of times and I'm not in a super hot area, And if it does happen to, overheat and shut down or whatever, okay, I can live with that. Then my investment of, under $300 is probably going to pay out. If I'm wanting to utilize this and I want to be able to run it consistently every weekend and I need to be there for me, for sure, spending the extra money to have them, the name and reputation when it's online, you got to think about things like that too. So for their different applications, they could definitely both work. You just have to figure out what's going to be best for you. We're going to put links in the description below so you can go and check out the Rockville. You can go check out the Electro-Voice. Both, again, great little subs for different applications.